immigration officer that's reviewing your petition could take the position that you're not really directing and developing the business, but instead you're engaging in the day-to-day operations. Hey everybody, U.S. immigration lawyer Michael Ashoori here. And in today's video, I want to talk to you about the E-2 visa as it pertains to truckers. Now, there is a tremendous level of interest in how truckers and people in the trucking industry can utilize the E-2 investor visa. And there seems to be some misconceptions about how this can work for truckers. And so in today's video, I want to provide you with some helpful tips so that you can get a better understanding of how somebody can use the E-2 visa to operate a trucking company in the US. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So as a quick overview about the E-2 visa, this is an investor visa. It's a non-immigrant investor visa, which allows somebody, an entrepreneur or an investor, to invest into a US business. It can be their own business, or they can purchase an existing business. And based on making that investment, they can operate that business in the United States. Typically, we recommend investments of at least $100,000 or more, but we've seen investments for less than that get approved in the past. How does this come into play when it comes to a trucking business? Well, oftentimes people think that, oh, I drive a truck, I have a truck, I can just come to the United States, start driving my truck, doing my trucking business in the United States, and I can get an E-2 visa that way. Well, there's a couple of things that I want to alert you on. And the first thing that I want to alert you on is your role as part of the requirements of the E-2 visa is that you must be seeking entry to the United States to direct and develop your E-2 business. So oftentimes people have this notion that they can essentially just come to the US and act as a truck driver for their own trucking business and they can get an E-2 visa. The issue is that by doing that, you're essentially doing the day-to-day operations of your business rather than directing and developing the business. So the example that I like to give is that if somebody is going to open up a cafe in the US, as part of the E-2 visa, they shouldn't be the one that's acting as the barista, making the lattes and making the cappuccinos. They should be the one that's directing and developing the business, essentially focusing on optimizing aspects of the business, helping to promote the growth of the business, rather than doing the day-to-day operations of the business. In the context of a trucking company, if your business plan calls for you to essentially drive a truck in the United States and make these various deliveries, then the immigration officer that's reviewing your petition could take the position that you're not really directing and developing the business, but instead you're engaging in the day-to-day operations, the day-to-day duties of the business, again, rather than directing and developing the company. So tip number one is when you're pursuing an E-2 visa for a trucking company is to set it up in such a fashion where, again, you're in more of a senior role with the company to essentially focus on optimizing the business, focusing on how you can grow the operations, rather than acting as a truck driver. And instead, your business plan should call for hiring truck drivers for the business. That's tip number one. The second tip that I want to mention is pertaining to this marginality requirement. The E-2 visa has a requirement where your business cannot be marginal. And just to cut out all the legalese and make it simple, a marginal business is basically a business that's small. It's not really generating a positive economic impact beyond just providing you with a minimal livelihood. Sometimes in the context of a trucking business, an individual that's considering such a business, they might have one truck and they have this idea that they're going to bring their truck and essentially have one truck as the basis of their entire E-2 business. The issue is that, again, depending on your business plan and the numbers indicate that your profitability will be or your gross revenue and your net profits will be with that business, depending on what the business plan shows, the immigration officer reviewing your case could take the position that this is a marginal business, basically that the business is too small. So another tip number two for operating a trucking business is that the business plan should ideally call for multiple trucks. Now, the specifics of the business, again, I hesitate to comment too much on a specific number of trucks. I just want to give you this idea, and so that this should be in your mind, that the larger the operation is, the less likely it is that the business will be considered to be marginal. So again, those are two helpful tips for individuals that are considering a trucking business as the basis of their E-2 visa. I'm Michael Ashoori, and my law firm and I are here to help you with your immigration needs.